The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will not only offer you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Rob Conlon sat in Michael Normanson's chair. You're going to do this better than he is. What's the exciting part?
Wills, probate and conveyancing.
Why does he trip up on it every single time we do this?
It's 3 words in it. He's an idiot, clearly.
Yeah, I know. Michael is on holiday, which means it's Dan, it's Rob, and it's Moscow White bringing you the weekly show this time. Yeah, it is brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 15% on those three, the big three, wills, probate and conveyancing. If you head over to the Phil Hay podcasts on this feed, on YouTube, you will find the code there for the 15% discount. Wills, probate and conveyancing, all very important, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any of those things, I don't think, but...
You shouldn't have conveyancing, I don't think. It's more of a service. But...
Right, well, I've never bought a house either, so... Yeah. But, you know.
You should get a will and leave all your earthly possessions to
you.
Yeah, fine.
I don't think there'll be much. You can't even afford a house. I mean, it's like, in this economy...
I've got loads of Square Ball magazines if you want any.
You can, burn them to keep warm.
Yeah. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. Right then, into it, and the latest update, which is why we're here over the summer weeks. We've had the puff piece in the Daily Mail. Did you read that?
Yeah, I read it last night. I just found it all very weird, to be honest. I just read it and I thought, this is just getting weirder and weirder and weirder.
It did restore a little bit of a feel-good feeling, I suppose, after what has been a slightly hysterical week, based around Farke's comments at York after the Monaco friendly, when he was laying out that things, needed to move behind the scenes, the contract situation, the loanees and all that. It upset everyone, didn't it? Thinking we're not where we need to be.
So thank God we're not going to rename that stadium.
That's the important bit. I mean, it was quite clearly, it was a puff piece, but it's still not them not going on record, but it's the closest we've come to plans being laid out on the record, isn't it? And I know like Angus Kinnear came in here and said some of this stuff before, gave a general outline of it all, but it's another thing just to sort of refresh the memory, if you like, or put it into the minds of fans who are not aware of it yet. 55,000 capacity Elland Road, redeveloped, more corporate, 200 million quid.
No Wi-Fi.
And no Wi-Fi. We need Wi-Fi. We do need it.
People won't sing if there's Wi-Fi.
No.
It says here.
No, I just want to be able to check scores and stuff.
Some of it is mad.
I can't do my internet banking at Elland Road, can I now, if there's no Wi-Fi?
The insanity of putting in writing in the Daily Mail that there are discussions about whether we should have Wi-Fi because it might, and whether Wi-Fi would dilute the atmosphere is part of the conversation. These people get it, said one staff member. It's like, I mean, it's difficult to take anything else from this apart from it is just puff piece. It's just like publicity on behalf of the new owners going like, oh no, we're going to do loads of really good stuff. So it's not really on the record. I can't take anything seriously. I mean, we can hold them to some of this stuff, but when it begins, Marath, a smile on his face, quickly assured the staffer that there were no plans to change the name of Elland Road.
Hey, at Moscow, we're going to have to see if you can out-cynical yourself from last week.
Well, if they wouldn't keep printing this, it would be a lot easier.
It's nice to hear some stuff, isn't it?
I mean, they could just go on the record and maybe just do an interview with some proper journalists and answer some proper questions. But I don't know, I guess if we're getting the Daily Mail to do our PR now, that's one way of doing it. Back to the Wi-Fi thing, I do enjoy how they're really worried that Wi-Fi might ruin the atmosphere at Elland Road, but they're not worried about, putting a load of corporate areas into it and charging 47 quid a ticket.
Just think, here's an idea, and this will maybe pique their interest. If you had Wi-Fi in Elland Road, people could actually buy tickets on their devices while they're in there, while they're having a nice time.
Tickets for the game they're already at?
No, for the next one, where they could say at half-time, get out your phone now, buy tickets for whatever next game is.
Can't afford them, they're too expensive.
There's also the stadium stuff, I suppose, linked to that as well. I was quite amused by Pete Lowy. It can be disclosed, is in talks with Leeds City Council about a transport system. He wants to turn Elland Road into a transport hub. It is already a park and ride there, isn't there? So I suspect the actual meaning of that is that he wants to talk about where the transport hub can go after it's been redeveloped into a load of offices and flats rather than building a transport hub. It's a funny way around of doing it. There's no underground in Leeds, no tram network. While it is early, discussions between Pete Lowy and the council include the prospect of Elland Road. Is he going to build an underground?
I was going to say, this is the bit that did confuse me, because the subtext was that Pete Lowe's going to come in and do a load of
He's going to build an underground for the entire city of Leeds.
That's very good of him.
And he's not. I suspect it's probably... I mean, this is one of the other ways in which it's hard to take this piece seriously because it's, oh yeah, Pete Lowe's going to sort transport out in South Leeds. Is he? Or is he going to build a load of stuff on the park and ride that is contributing to solving the transport problems in South Leeds? And so he has to talk about the council about where that goes. That will be the actual conversation it's going to be having. If we build on the park and ride, where will the transport provision move to from there? So then you can go, oh yeah, Pete Lowe's, he really cares passionately.
Although there is room all around. There is room around.
It makes perfect sense. It makes like, if they just wrote there are plans to redevelop the area around Elland Road into flats and houses and offices and hotels and loads of other stuff. And you think, that sounds great. So it's really odd way of doing it. That's kind of like, oh no, he's going to build trams.
I want him to come in and build a tram single-handedly.
He can be horse-drawn ones, except instead of the horse, it's him.
Oh, a fleet of Charabancs?
Yep. All this like kind of stuff.
But no, it was nice to read it because it made everyone feel a little bit better. And if that was the purpose of it, then fine. I'm all for it.
It made me really laugh. You have the line there, Moscow. What is it? We're going to hire people who know what they're doing and then figure out why they're doing it. That's what I think. Is that what the 49ers are asking themselves? Like, we know what we're doing, but why are we doing this again?
Come on, hark at ye. It makes sense if you break it down, doesn't it? There's like basically hire capable people and then find out why they do what they do. Or hire people that fit the model of this is how you build a successful football club and get it out of the Championship.
I mean, it does show kind of the standards in football employment and probably the standards that were at Leeds previously, that the bar is set at hire people who know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And you go, bloody hell, that's a good idea.
Well, the big tell in this, and I don't think it made it into this article by accident, was the bit about the bloke who is looking after Elland Road and the training ground and the IT, just as an example of the lack of staffing that has been allowed to continue at Elland Road.
Yes. That guy seems to be doing too many things, I would suggest. And so it's good that that's being stopped. But then again, it's that thing of, I am now trying to find the bit about them hiring somebody to do a data analysis on how to get out of the Championship. And it's like, win lots of games would be the thing to do it. So yeah, here it is. While those involved want to keep the precise detail to themselves for obvious reasons, a third-party data company was commissioned to uncover what it takes for a relegated club to make an immediate return. Their findings were myth-busting and many.
I mean, the thing is, we have criticised like the previous regime for trying to play Moneyball with stuff. But this seems like a fairly sensible use of data. If that is your approach, is to use data to analyse what's gone on. And
that's what Moneyball is.
No, I'm saying
it's
like
a different kind of Moneyball.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
We don't know if it's any better.
Well, we'll find out in about May's time, won't we?
Exactly, which is why it's difficult to read.
But if there are certain patterns that get teams promoted, it might sound obvious to say employee capable manager, but in doing so, it does make sense, doesn't it? To say, all right, the guy's won it twice. Have a manager who's got experience of the division and the country, perhaps versus somebody who hasn't.
Yeah, I did enjoy someone on Wacko posting about the data analysis, and then they've said, we found out that the two teams with the most points in the Championship go up. But
maybe not, because it says that the findings from this data analysis were myth-busting. So maybe that's a myth. That if you score loads of goals and get loads of points and win loads of games, you get promoted. Apparently, maybe that's just like we've all been living a lie until now, and we've got to bust those myths and take a different approach.
Just you watch. But no, it was just reading it. It was like, oh God, can the season start, please?
Yeah. We need something to fill the void, don't we? I'm just listening to you two talking about it and your response to it. Like, you're just not buying into the feel good. But it goes back to what I was saying, like to Phil the other week on one of those shows about us being damaged as a fan base and the amount of cynicism that's absolutely rife within us as a fan base, because we need to just see, I guess it's less talking and more results.
Yeah, I mean,
it's about the size of it.
We lived through Gulf Finance House, and I'm not saying this, it's going to end like that or the intentions or anything like that, but the whole period of the 2010s, there are echoes in. I was talking to Rob about the goalkeeping thing before. This myth busting and the data analysis and what it takes. It's 2 weeks before the season, and there's so much not resolved. It's hard to say, well, are those the myths that we're busting? Is don't do anything until you're about to play Cardiff, and then everything will be fine. And the goalkeeper thing, so Carl Darlow is on the way, and everyone's very happy about that. We're going to get rid of Meslier, and we're going to bring in 32-year-old reserve goalkeeper from Newcastle. And I just have that little feeling of when we got rid of Kasper Schmeichel and brought in Andy Lonergan and Paul Rehupke was pretty much the same thing. Like, no, we need somebody older, more reliable. Doesn't matter about this 21-year-old. Get rid of that guy. And then Kasper Schmeichel ends up winning the Premier League, and we spend another 10 years in the Championship trying to get out of there. So there's kind of a lot of these things have those weird echoes that make me just want to go, I think I'll not buy this as easily as it's being sold, and maybe wait and see whether there are other avenues of information that don't involve Parag Marathe being described, chuckling and smiling. No, of course I'm not going to make the home kit red. Oh.
I mean, I know you are just being overly cynical about this, but it does remind me of look at him, he's tall, he's Andre Radrizzani, he's handsome, well, he's the owner. The first season of the documentary, It does make me laugh.
So they all do it, and that's the thing, is that there's not really,
it's just PR, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you take it as PR and look through once you do decide it's PR, then it's easier to pick holes in it. I was even thinking about, they said that some of the first designs from the planning consultants and the architects for Elland Road were a bowl. Yeah. And they said, oh no, we don't want that. It's like, how did you get so far down the line with your architects that their first presentations is a load of stuff that you don't want?
Come on, you are gilding the lily a little bit there.
But it's all there to sell stuff, so that it's like Parag Marathe saying, like the story of him refusing to change the name of Elland Road when there's been no question of him doing it, and then refusing these modern designs based on a bowl, saying, oh no, that's absolutely not what we want. It's there to sell us on, like, no, they want what you want. There's no reason to tell me that the architects did a load of wrong drawings, and Parag Marathe is going like, guys, we can't have a futuristic bowl. The fans don't want that. They don't even want Wi-Fi.
We've got to have things shit. Give it shit.
Yeah. You're normally the positive one. What's wrong with you,
I'm
man?
very excited about the new season, but this just Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail, like with these fantasy stories of just Parag Marathe somehow kind of represent, no, we must give the fans a stadium the way they want it. Why are you bringing me a bowl? Get it out of here.
There is a point, though, about not going on the record and doing this properly, because I think it was like a month before the end of last season, Leeds put out this story on the website about, we support this new fan engagement standard and we support this new fan engagement index. What the story on the official website failed to mention was that by that very same standard, Leeds were ranked, I think it was 89th out of 92 clubs in England for fan engagement. And during that time, we had Kinnear just disappearing with his programme notes, not giving any interviews. Radrizzani admits now he was absent and just doing nothing. The 49ers were just sat in the background. If you have things to tell us, do an interview. Like, tell us properly. Don't just invite a bloke from the Daily Mail to sit in on a meeting with some staff and just have an absolute kiss ass of a piece.
He did get interviewed by the
official
guy of Harry Potter,
the official podcast.
Matt Lewis.
He did.
Matt's a very nice man.
He's a very nice
strong
man.
walker.
But it was the official Leeds United podcast, so it is kind of. Was Mike Keegan even in this meeting, or it's all based on staff members who want a long-serving stalwart? Why is a long-serving stalwart shouting? You can't change the name of the stadium, Parag!
Dear me. Let's move on to Carl Darlow then, because we did touch on that.
I hate him as well.
You see, I see the positives in this. Like, and with Meslier,
Rehupke too.
I'd like us to keep Meslier and for Meslier to develop, but I do get the sense that it's probably he needs a new home. Maybe, I don't know, and I think there's probably more than that. All that stuff aside, whatever your opinion on him as a keeper and whether he just needs time and stuff like that, is that it's probably a financial fair play thing, because he represents financial fair play profit more than anything. I think that's probably what's at the root of that.
Yeah, I don't know. All that stuff really bores me. I think I'd be cooler with this if we were signing a better goalkeeper. I think it sort of comes down to it. And I don't know, I can't say I've watched.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just what we need, a bit of fine. I mean, it's do the obvious thing.
I suppose it's the kind of thing that Newcastle have done. Like, he's been their number one in the Championship. He's got them promoted, and then they've signed a better goalkeeper. Yeah. And I guess if Leeds going to do that, fair enough, I guess. I just find it it's just a bit depressing. I think how all these grand plans for the club are like, we're going to get all this great young talent, develop it, they're going to be great, and then we're going to maximise the profit on them.
Yeah, but we've just been bemoaning Moneyball.
Well, I don't know. But that's the plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
And So we've really gone away from that plan. And, I think if we'd have done this a year ago, people would be going mental. And don't get me wrong, Melié's had a really dreadful end of the season. But yeah, it's just a bit like, that great goalkeeper we were going to have and sell for loads of money. It's now like we're trying to kick him out the door and replace him with a bit of an underwhelming replacement.
Yeah, no, I accept that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a trade. The trade-off feels depressing from the point of view that I think if Illan Melié stayed here for the next 15 years, he could be the greatest Leeds United goalkeeper we've ever seen. And so it's kind of trading that off for 32-year-old Carl Darlow. I guess the word is it's a shame.
Yeah.
It may be inevitable, and I think you're right that the big consideration here is that we can probably get a certain amount of money for Melié that means we can buy other players that we need. And that's going to be why he has to be.
Yeah, it's the reality of life in the Championship, isn't it?
But it's also the, I suppose it was the sad side of kind of what the club were doing in any case, where it seems like they were talking about, well, we're going to sell Melié in this window anyway, just for value. And so that idea of, signing a player when it's romance, well, not even romance, it's kind of just like wanting to see good football players.
So actually, the next 15 years, myth was never going to happen, was it? It was never going to happen. It was always the plan to increase his value and then sell him. So
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because I would rather, if you get a player that good, keep him.
Yeah,
and that's interesting. That's kind of one of the things that if we do take the data, third-party data analysis company that done is that they said retention, and seems to be one of the key factors is, and if you've got something good, you keep it. And the way
but you can't retention everything, can you?
No, but when you got a goalkeeper that good, I would chain him to the goalposts, and he would probably not affect his inability to come for a cross. Boom, boom. But it will be a shame, and it was always going to be a shame to watch Melié go and win the Champions League with whoever he wins it with. And become as good as he should become, and think, well, we could have just kept that guy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's completely gone off the boil and his confidence looks shot, doesn't it? So maybe he needs that change of scene.
I don't think he's going to be like that for the next 10 years. And change of scene can also mean a change of manager. Everything's changing at Leeds. New owners, new manager, new coaches, the whole lot. So that could be as refreshing as going to play for whoever he goes to play for.
And also, I look at the squad and I don't think we desperately need a new goalkeeper. I look at the squad and think, just sign a left back for crying out loud, please. Sign some more midfielders.
I do think we need a new goalkeeper. I don't think we necessarily need to replace Melié in a blanket sense, but I think we possibly need a different voice back there. We need somebody who's going to organise a defence. And I don't know enough about football, and I'm obviously not stood close enough to Illan Melié to know what he's doing. But they obviously feel like it's something they can do. They can move him on. They can trade him, get the cash, reinvest it. Makes sense, I guess, even if it's don't fit with the romantic ideal about keeping players forever. But those days are long gone, aren't they? I mean, look at all the loanees. Look at Max Verber, actually, who's off to
Luke Ayling for 8 years, and Liam Cooper's been here for 9, nearly 10.
Yeah, but they've ridden the wave, haven't they? And it's different. They came through under a very unique set of circumstances, from just being absolutely completely mediocre to riding this Bielsa wave with the rest of us, and then this is different because we've gone up and come down, and churn needs to happen. It's going to happen, isn't it? Because we need to reinvest, and there's financial fair play, which is breathing down your neck. But yeah, I was just talking about Max Verber, the fact that he's just buzzing off to Borussia Mönchengladbach on loan. Had a couple of weeks under Farke, doesn't fancy it, off he pops because somebody's come in for him. That's the nature of modern football, isn't it, sadly?
He must really hate Farke. Just joining the club that has just sacked Farke must really sting, to be fair, if he was hoping that he was going to hang around. But yeah, it's not particularly surprising because when Verber first went to join Marsch at Salzburg, there's a clip in the Red Bull documentary on it all, and he's getting bombarded with messages from Rapid Vienna fans who he supported as a boy and he first started playing at. And yeah, they're sending him threats. I think they're threatening his family and stuff. And he's just like, I'd have to justify anything I do with my career to Rapid Vienna fans. And so, yeah, I suppose it's not surprising that he's looked at all these other losers that have got us relegated, taking advantage of these clauses in their contract and gone, I might do a bit of that. And, it's fair enough. It's his career. And so he can do what he likes with it. And I think I can I'm all the right to call him a shitbag for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the other side to this is we don't know that Meslier has not asked to leave. He might want to go, quite frankly. That's the other side to this.
Potentially. People keep bringing up the interview he did towards after the relegation, I think it was, saying, look, he wants to leave. But I think he was asked, would you like to join Chelsea? And he was like, yeah, but if he's to sit on the bench, not really. But maybe he has behind the scenes said, actually, I'd like to leave. Again, fair
Maybe they
enough.
all have.
Yeah.
Who's to say that all 30 players on the books haven't all demanded to leave? We don't know. With Verba, I think the thing was, he was Marsh's guy. And that's the only reason he came here. He wasn't somebody that, Victor Orta picked out and had reams of data on, and we've been following for a while. It got to Christmas. Marsh was panicking. So he got Chris Armas and he phoned up Max Verba and he's like, I can get Leeds to sign you if you want to come and help. And that's how he came to be here. So then Marsh was sacked immediately. He looked more committed than Weston McKennie. But then...
Everybody did.
Yep. And now he's decided just to go back to playing a top league again instead of doing this. And it's like, yeah, I think those early appearances and his general demeanour gave the impression of a player who was sort of more committed to Leeds than he really was. But I think it's just playing quite well, wasn't he? That gives,
well, relative to the rest of the shit.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so that gave the impression that, he must be, he's Leeds through and through, and he'll probably want to be here for he wants to be here for the next 10 years and he'll commit himself to the club. But actually he was just playing pretty well. And that's one of the reasons why he's managed to get a move away. But I don't think there was, he was here for Marsh rather than here for Leeds United. It's a great combination. I mean, it's a great deal from his point of view. If that was the offer, is you come and play for Jesse Marsh, who signed you for Salzburg, and you play in the Premier League, so you'll probably get a pay rise. There's going to be a relegation release clause. It's like you cannot lose from this deal. So, yeah, he'll do that. And then it's turned out pretty well for him that he'll go off to Borussia Mönchengladbach and then, yeah, enjoy himself.
And a possible permanent deal was mentioned in the reporting as well, which I find interesting, that he might just not come back. I mean, I find it very difficult to be bothered about Max Verba either way. He probably would have been useful this season if we'd kept him, and by the sounds of it, Farke wanted to. But, like you say, he's been here a few months. It's not like I've formed a long-lasting bond with him, having watched him part of a defence that shipped fucking 160 goals in 2 seasons or whatever it is.
Yeah, it was that feeling at the end of the season where you thought, well, if we replace any of these, I don't really care.
Just get it in the bin.
But yeah, there's been talk with a few players who've left on loan this summer about, the clubs were talking about a permanent fee. And then it seems like the other clubs, the buying clubs, or rather the loaning clubs, have realised, that clause is still active if Leeds remain in the Championship. So why would we commit to a fee now when we could potentially just get them on loan again in a year's time?
Well, it's explained in that hard-hitting Daily Mail reportage that we saw from Mike Keegan, which is that it's the FFP, isn't it? I think they probably feel, reading between the lines, that the players have all gone down in value because we were absolutely shite. And therefore, if you sell them all at a loss now, you have to book that loss for FFP immediately. So, like with Aaronson, they said there's still 21 million of it on the books. If we sell him now for 15, you've lost 6 million quid instantly, and we can't really afford to do that. So it makes sense to just loan them out for a bit and take the hit on their depreciating value each season. But it's not as bad as taking a permanent loss on them. Yeah, and all of them.
The equally hard-hitting expose of Brendan Aaronson's time at Leeds that The Athletic put out, which was all like...
Oh, dear me. I mean...
Yeah. Did Leeds let him down?
Athletic, great bunch of lads. We had a nice time working with him for a while.
Anyway. But he did have the useful information about his...
We like Phil Hay.
About his loan at the end, which...
Can we just, if anybody who's not read that, can we just explain, like, the and we'll do it in our... We'll pass it through our filter, but essentially it's like he runs around a lot.
It was in the... I've got the quotes here. So, yeah. Did Leeds fail him or did he fail them? It might be that the Bundesliga is less demanding, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
I mean, for the record, I think we probably didn't do as well by Aaronson as we could have done because we were on the bones of our arse. Mm-hmm. And I think, he probably was attracted to coming to play for Marsh. Marsh, in my opinion, not a great coach. And possibly he needs good coaches. He needs beefing up and someone to tell him to stay on his feet and not moan as much.
Yeah. I mean, that article started with the whole thing of him, Leeds trying to sign him when Bielsa was here and like trying to paint him up as like a player that Bielsa really wanted, ignoring the fact that Victor Orta had already decided that Jesse Marsch was taking over, and that clearly we were signing him for the next manager, not for if Bielsa thought he could do something with him at the time, not knowing that he was about to be replaced by a fool, then who's to blame? But yeah, the attacker is elite at covering ground, pressing and duels, rather than pure chance creation or finishing. So I love it's just, you could tell from that phrase that it's not really aimed at us, the people of Yorkshire, when we're telling us that an attacker is elite at running, but he can't score. But anyway, the interesting bit was, and we kind of figured this out with the loan stuff before as well, is that the release clause for a permanent deal for Aaronson is obviously considerably, it's a lower fee anyway, if it's like 15 million or whatever he's worth now. But that only applies for as long as we are in the Championship. And if we get promoted again, there is no clause in his contract that says what the fee to buy him is. So the idea is that you loan him to the Bundesliga and immediately, I think there's a loan fee. There's a bit of
It said it's minimal but not insignificant, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. And his wages are gone, so that helps that part of it. And then if he comes back in a year and we're in the Premier League, we can sell him for Mbappe money if we want to. But there's no limit to, like, there is no longer a clause there where somebody gives us 15 million and we have to sell him.
You've just created an image in my mind of Brendan and Milana in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, he didn't cope well
doing their vlogging from there.
He didn't cope well in Qatar, did he? He couldn't get off the bench he did get off the bench for the USA, but he couldn't start a game. And that seemed to mess him up for the rest of the season, which is always, which is what I would have liked for an expose. Is why did he come back from the World Cup? Terrible. But yeah, we've got 4 more years of him.
4 more years.
So
4 more years.
When he comes back from his loan, there will still be he'll still have a 3-year contract with Leeds United. And so we could conceivably loan him out again for the same deal, just get his wages off and go and see if he can be good for somebody else, and then try and get promoted and try and get to the point of view where, okay, now we can sell him permanently and we get more money than we would have if we'd sold him when we went down straight away. So there is some logic to that, and it does make some sense. I guess that's why it's tried to cover each other. And we do have the reverse. If you remember, we loaned Jackie Harrison from Manchester City for 3 seasons in a row before we finally bought him. So it's not kind of, there's a lot of confusion about this loaning stuff, but it's not exactly unprecedented in the world of football. And it also seems to be more popular. There seems to be other teams are kind of loaning players for a year instead of selling them, which makes me wonder about what's going on with the finances of football clubs, where everyone's like, oh, we'll loan him, but we don't want to buy him. And that seems to be like the fashion. We're one of many clubs getting involved in this kind of loaning around, and looking at it from the other end of the clubs. It's like, why do clubs like Roma and Union Berlin and Borussia Mönchengladbach, why are they happy to only have a player for a year instead of buying them permanently?
That's possibly as much to do with the inflated finances in the Premier League, inflated wages, inflated fees. So they just can't compete. So they tend to loan rather than buy permanently. And
it feels that's kind of a bubble situation, isn't it? Once you start buying players for so much money that nobody can then afford to buy them off you, and that's kind of how Ridsdale got into trouble, and it's the whole Premier League coming along. Unfortunately, or at least fortunately for Chelsea and Newcastle, they seem to have contacts in more financially liquid leagues where they're able to take players off them for very big fees that they'll either, who knows what they'll do with that money. Maybe they'll come and sign Ilham Melier. Maybe he will go to Chelsea because they've got a lot of money from selling players to Saudi Arabia. That means that they are the one club that can actually afford to buy all these players, and that would be great, wouldn't it? Looking forward to watching.
If only we gave Joel Robles a 2-year deal, we could have sold him for billions, and we'd be filthy rich this summer.
What about Junior Firpo? Do you think he fancies a spell in the Middle East?
I think he's got a spell in the physio room, hasn't he?
Yeah,
another one.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
Yes,
Junior.
I was being entirely facetious, but I'm glad you just weren't standing for it, Rob. So thank you. Speaking of sickly children, Jackie and Tyler Adams are both sickly at the minute. Possibly going to be out until after the first international break, which is September. So where does that leave things from a first team squad point of view? If retention is the key, it's one way to retention your players, isn't it? And I know the word retain. I'm just joking.
I must admit, when the team for the friendly against Scum was named and I saw Sinisterra was in it, I was like, oh yes, he can just get like a 6-week injury now, and we won't be able to sell him.
Were you cheering? I don't even know who was playing for Scum that day. Were you cheering on? Fred's gone, hasn't he? Fred, the ghost of Fred.
Robbie Savage's child. Have you seen the film Misery, Rob?
No.
Are you aware of the plot line in that?
I mean, I can probably guess it judging by the title.
Yeah, it's about a woman she lives out in the sticks. I think it's in the middle of winter, and her favourite author, I think he has a car crash or something like that, and ends up in her care, doesn't he? He's injured himself, and she essentially, spoiler alert here, by the way, breaks his legs so he can't leave. So I just had Misery vibes in my head about, should we deliberately nobble our players so they can't leave?
Done it with Jackie. Done it with Firpo.
Yeah.
That was deliberate.
All the good ones.
Firpo just can't cope with the summer, can he? He always comes back and gets hurt immediately.
But it does pose an interesting question, because the thing that sent everybody into a tailspin, as I mentioned before, was Farke's comments about what the squad needs. And, to paraphrase what he said, it was basically, we need players everywhere. And then people
Not the wings.
And people are trying to do this 4D maths chess thing of trying to work out who stays, who do we retain, how do we get them money, extract money from players from an FFP point of view, because the FFP was highlighted again in the Daily Mail hard-hitting article. So it's an imperative. It's there, isn't it? It's in the foreground.
On FFP, I mean, it's fucking boring, isn't it? But I would love to know where we're at with that right now, because we've come down, we've got parachute payments, the wage bill was essentially halved due to the contract, the clauses in the players' contracts, and then we've loaned out a load of them. We must surely have some money,
some
to spend.
headroom, yeah. But if you think about it, it's only 13 million losses a year, which is absolutely piffling amounts when you look at the wages that get circulated in the Premier League.
It is averaged over 3 years, so isn't it? So you can potentially put in 26, and
it's
then
13 million a year over 3 years. So it's 39 million over 3 years. Now the hope is obviously that you would go back up and you wouldn't have to worry about it, because that was one of the things that. Again, the hard-hitting Daily Mail piece mentioned about FFP was like, even if they've got tens of millions to put in, they bloody well can't, can they, because of FFP? Well, you can just choose to ignore it.
You could choose to ignore it. You could also put some in up front and then hope that gets you through the next 3 years, because then if you get promoted, then all the income then works out. So you can kind of take a bit of a risk that way. But I think Harrison and Adams getting injured in particular, getting them beyond the end of the transfer window is kind of a particular complication, because they're probably the two players who would be both valuable, and much as I would love to just watch, keep Jackie Harrison forever, saleable as well. It felt like those were the two that you could let go, given Tyler Adams is a problem because we don't have any midfielders, so keeping him makes sense. So I suppose it's more about Jack Harrison, where if you sold him for a lot of money, and we know that Newcastle wanted him, Leicester wanted him, clubs in the Premier League will want him, you've still got Gnonto, Somerville, Sinisterra, Dan James, Jorginho Rutter, who turns out is also a winger. The one place where we do not need players, I'm sure Farke is aware, is out wide. So you could solve a problem that way. It's like, whereas Meslier is, I mean, with all respect to Christopher Claassen, Meslier is kind of our goalkeeper, isn't he? So if you sell him, we don't have a goalkeeper. We're going to get Darlow to replace him. If you sell Jack Harrison, you've still got 5 other players who can do Jack Harrison's job in those positions. As it is, unless somebody wants to take a chance on his fitness and buy him injured, he's here until at least January, which is good, because I absolutely love watching Harrison play, and I think he could be fantastic for us in the Championship. But it also does then mean, well, what do we do? Do we sell Gnonto now so that we don't have them both, and then run the risk of Harrison wanting to leave in January if things aren't going well? Because what it basically depends on with Harrison and Adams, I guess, is if we're going to go up at the first attempt, it makes some kind of sense for them to hang around, because they'll be back in the Premier League in a year. And if they're injured through this transfer window, get to January, and if we're looking like we're absolutely waltzing the Championship, then there's not really a downside to them staying. They can pick up some Championship medals and go back to the Premier League, and everything's fine again. If we're not anywhere near that, I don't think they would hang around for a 2-year attempt at getting promoted, which at the moment, if you were to bet, you'd probably say we need another season based on what the squad looks like at the moment.
But
So
have we got the time and the luxury to do that?
no, and we certainly don't have with them. So, but they're kind of being trapped into it. So it's going to be a bit interesting as autumn becomes Christmas, where the club is at and whether it's going to be like,
That's true.
Jackie, do you want to stay? And like we're going
Just
up this
hang around.
year.
We'll be up soon. We'll give you a big bonus, make up for your lost wages.
So in
whatever.
a way, it's good because I think if I was Jack Harrison now and the club was saying to me, yeah, we'll be up this season, so you're going to have your medal in May, I would go, I think it's going to take 2 years, so I'm just going to leave now. Because I think asking him and Adams to play outside the Premier League for 2 years is a bit too much to be asking of them. But if it gets to the point where it looks like we're going up, then they can stay and get involved. But if they stay and get involved, we've got 6 wingers. So is Dan James going to just have to leave again? Is basically what it comes down to. So keeping all those things, there was an easy way of keeping everything happy, which was sell Jack Harrison, use that money, rebuild the squad, and then James Sinisterra, Gnonto, Somerville, Ruttick can all compete for those places. It's fine. Once you've got Harrison there as well, and clearly first name on the team sheet kind of player, you've then got the other 5 players all competing for one position and trying to keep them all happy. Farkas seems like a nice guy. He can keep them happy.
It's his problem, isn't it?
It is very much his problem. So
yeah,
hope he's good at it.
We shall see. Did you see that Ross McCormack has a new club, which wasn't expected? That was at Liversedge, which is, what tier are Liversedge in?
Somewhere in non-league. I don't actually know.
Right.
I presume. But no, he did actually hint at this in his interview with Phil Hay for The Athletic. He was saying that his body's not really up to playing, I was going to say proper football, but that's a bit disrespectful. But he was looking for a non-league club to kind of keep involved. But yeah, don't read that interview with Phil. Read the one that I've written in the summer special with Ross.
Which Moscow has in his hand there. Which
Hold up for the camera, then that's what it sounds like. Listen to that. That's a great sound. And yeah, you've told everybody the only good bit in Phil's one. So, whereas you, the good thing about this was you talked to him about doing overhead kicks and stuff, which was much more what I wanted to know from Ross McCormack, trying to get out of over his garden gate to go to an Aston Villa training session. Like, who cares? That's like Steve Bruce. I wouldn't walk through an open field to go anywhere near Steve Bruce, so I won't blame him. But yeah, doing overhead kicks and scoring loads of goals and what that feels like is much more interesting.
And telling Neil Warnock to fuck off.
Yes, that's crucially. So
Liversedge appear to be in the Northern Premier League East, I believe.
Still not
semi-professional.
Answered the tier question.
Semi-professional. Where it's the same tier as the Northern Premier League West,
which is
very good.
Quite far down the pyramid.
It's level 7 or 8,
right? Depending
on so let me see.
It sounds like we're being dismissive of it, and we're not at all. I think it's just a surprise that he pitched up there. When he's still quite recent in your consciousness as a Leeds player, isn't he? And
I think I'll
a high level player.
I think I'll go watch him. To be fair, I quite fancy seeing Ross play again. I loved him when he played for Leeds. I thought he was great.
Then he's got sort of responsibilities over and above the playing side as well, hasn't he? What is it that he's doing?
He's director of football. He's the new Victor Orta.
Maybe it's just a thing that works for him and good on him if he's found his new home and all that. Yeah.
So it is step 4 of which is tier 8, Northern Premier League, Division 1 East. So they'll be targeting promotion to the Northern Premier League Premier Division, and then the National League North, then the National League, and then it's League 2.
Right.
And then it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Premier League champions. Can't be far off. I think that would be good for the people of Liversedge to have Premier League championship winning club.
Where is Liversedge?
It's near Wakefield, isn't it? It's out that kind of way. The mysterious rhubarb lands where Michael lives, and I don't really understand. That's all I know about it. It's
the Rhubarb Triangle.
Rhubarb and Haribo is all I know about these lands.
It's the other way. It's
okay.
South of Cleckheaton, so it's what's the nearest big town to it? You've got Brickhead. It's sort of between Wakefield and Huddersfield.
Okay, so it's completely wrong. That's how much I knew about Liversedge. Apologies to the people of Liversedge. It was recorded in the Doomsday Books. You'd think I would know.
Directly south of Bradford, if you like. That kind of vibe.
Cleckhooders Facts style.
Yep. All that neck of the woods. So yes, anything further to discuss before we wrap up this one? We've done, I think, all the important bits. Keepers, Bailey Peacock-Farrell. Speaking of keepers, he's going to our house in Denmark.
In the middle of our
we've done that joke before.
Yeah.
On loan from Burnley, but he's going to hang out with
Uwe Rosler.
Bailey has a good character and a strong work mentality, and together with Jesper Hansen, we will now have a strong and varied goalkeeper group. So he's going to get reunited with Juve.
I like the description of a varied goalkeeper group. It's like, I assume Jesper Hansen's the good one.
Have you forwarded your scouting video that you put together of?
Sure, they'll have hired a third-party data analysis company before making a signing as significant as Bailey Peacock-Farrell. He's gone on there for a year on loan as well. I think that was part of what I was thinking about. Everybody's just loaning everybody to everybody else, and it's all kind of, nobody wants to, maybe Bailey Peacock-Farrell will, save something in Denmark and his value might go up. So we better just loan him. He'll have some value on the books. 3.5 million Burnley paid. I know that they've just sold that keeper they signed a keeper from Manchester City for 12 million, haven't they?
Trafford, yeah.
Yeah, which confused me. I'm glad that that's sorted, that he's not playing for Manchester City anymore, because them having a keeper called Trafford. I suppose they had one called Schmeichel. Rob.
On the description of their varied goalkeeper group, that just reminded me of Farke's explanation of the injury situation when he said Jack Harrison and Tyler Adams are injured. They're top class players, and Junior Firpo's injured too.
He's good, isn't he? I like how he says August. He pronounces it August.
Yeah,
as well. It's all about we need Michael to do the voice, obviously, but what's happening in August is good, and we need to maybe institute a bell every time he says topic. Quite into every time he says topic. What are all these topics on the weekend? Yes, we haven't talked about Sam Byram, because the most important topic for Sam is that his body is fit and ready to go.
We've got quite a lot of hot Byram chat over on the member show this week, by the way, so do look out for that.
The most important topic for Sam is that his body is fit. The most important topic is that he stays fit, and all the other topics are more or less a lot of topics, but only one topic that it's important, and that's whether we keep Sam Byram in August. Well, he's good. Farke's all right.
When we get out of August, we've got September, and we're going to be on telly again, aren't we? Against Millwall, Sunday lunchtime kickoff at noon in the UK, which follows on from us being on live on the Friday night game against West Brom, mid to late August, and then the Cardiff game obviously is the season curtain raiser. You're looking forward to it yet? You excited, or are you still absolutely awash with cynicism?
I'll be delighted once it all starts.
Yeah,
I am actually on holiday for that first one as well. So, yeah,
I'm genuinely looking forward to the Cardiff game because it's something new. We don't know 100% what to expect. It might even be fun. You never know.
It's kind of sorry to plug the summer special again, but at the back we just put some pictures from last time we got relegated to the Premier League and the opening day when we played Derby. And it is, I mean, it's hard to get nostalgic about a picture of Paul Butler in a Diodora kit. But there is something about just, and then Michael Ricketts on the floor, Danny Pugh. Dino's good. Always happy to see Dino. But there is something, as I looked at it, I was like, it's fun, isn't it? It's going to be pretty exciting.
And as the hard-hitting exploratory piece that the Daily Mail, really got into the weeds with this, Daily Mail, covered, it is the start of something, whichever way you want to dress it up, isn't it? The start of the 49ers reign, and we get something of a clean slate in front of us now to see how it all goes.
I will give away the big discovery I made for this thing about playing Derby in 2004. Speaking of a new start and how things go forward, there's a bit of footage of Kevin Blackwell's. Jesse Marsh wasn't the first person to pin up bits of paper in the dressing room. He had one with an acrostic. An acrostic where you've got the letters down the side.
I mean, I know what it is. I'm just checking that you do.
The letters down the side. So the letters Leeds United, each one spelled out a word. So this was what Leeds United now meant in 2004. L for longest pass first option. E for earn the right to play. E again for energy and endurance. Lots of E's. D for discipline on and off the pitch. Cough, John Oster. S, strength, speed and skill. U for unity and organisation, T for toughness and teamwork, and D for determination. You obviously went for the UTD version of Leeds United.
Reminded me particularly because we've been circling around the whole Saudi thing and you've just mentioned the acrostic there. The Jordan Henderson one, do you remember that one?
Yes.
That's done the rounds.
Gets to N. Don't know what to do.
Can you remember how it went? Because I've got it in front of me now.
I remember one of them's neighbourly.
Yeah, that was the absolute classic.
Yeah. So it goes heroic, engine, natural, discipline, explorer, regulator, just like Warren G. Sealing, SEALING. Maybe he's sealing around the shower. It's got a leak.
Fair enough.
Observe.
Very observant, yeah.
No, it's not observant. It's observe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, look at him.
Yeah. And then neighbourly is the last one.
Very neighbourly.
Neighbourly's
Sure will be in
great.
Saudi.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, but longest past first option was probably all you needed to know about was Wonder Blackwell. But we should be better to watch Wonder Farker, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. It'll be fun. It's going to be fun. We shall see.
Just play all the wingers and let everything else take care of itself.
He did mention actually in his post match, didn't he? Saying like, if we don't have a number 10 available immediately, in this, we won't play number 10. We'll do something else instead, which I like. Flexible. F. A. You work it out. All right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you soon.